Artificial intelligence. For a lot of us, maybe the first thing that springs to mind is still, like, chatbots or those virtual assistants on our phones.
Right, asking for the weather or something simple.
Exactly. But AI is moving way beyond just answering questions or, making pictures. It's getting really deep into our work lives
Mm-hmm.
in ways that, honestly, might surprise you quite a bit.
Yeah, I think they will.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating new survey. It kind of pulls back the curtain on how much managers are now actually using AI.
And not just for minor stuff.
No, not at all. For some of the most critical, like high-stakes decisions about the people who report directly to them. When I say high stakes, I mean, well, career-shaping decision.
Promotions, raises,
Yeah.
the big ones.
Exactly. So our main source here, the thing we're really digging into, is this survey from resumebuilder.com. It just came out.
And it's pretty comprehensive. They used Pollfish online and got responses from, what was it, over 1,300 managers?
Yeah, 2,842 to be precise. Full-time manager-level employees in the U.S.
Yeah.
And they had some specific criteria for who could participate.
Right. You had to be at least 25, household income over 75K, associate's degree or higher.
Be manager, obviously, company bigger than 11 employees. And the key thing, you had to have direct reports, people you actually manage.
Crucial point, yeah.
So our mission today is basically to unpack the data points from this survey that are, frankly, kind of surprising. We're talking AI influencing promotions,
Yeah.
raises,
Layoffs.
even terminations.
Even
Terminations, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for that shortcut, to get up to speed on the future of work, especially how AI might actually impact your career path, you are definitely in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you a little taste, a bit of a shock factor up front, imagine this. Almost half the managers in the survey were actually told to figure out if AI could replace the people working for them.
Wow. Just asked to evaluate that possibility.
Asked to evaluate it. And a pretty significant chunk of those managers,
Right.
well, they actually went ahead and did it.
Oof. Okay. That definitely grabs your attention.
It does. So let's start there. Let's try and get a handle on the scale of this. I mean, just how pervasive is this trend really? Is this just a few tech companies, or is AI use and management becoming, like, widespread?
Well, that's what's so fascinating, right? It's the sheer scale. The survey found that 65%, almost two-thirds of all the managers they talk to are actively using AI tools at work.
65%. Okay, that's a lot higher than I might have guessed.
It is. But here's the part that really stands out. Of those managers, the ones using AI, a staggering 94% are using it to help make decisions about their actual direct reports.
94% of the AI users.
Exactly. So this isn't just, automating some basic admin tasks anymore. This shows AI integrating really rapidly into, like, core HR functions, people management itself.
Wow, 94%. That really does suggest a pretty fundamental shift is underway. Okay, so if managers are jumping in like this, what tools are they actually using? Is it like a whole mess of different programs, or are there some clear favorites emerging?
That's a great question. And, it's maybe less fragmented than you'd imagine. The survey shows a few very familiar names are really dominating.
Okay, like who?
Well, ChatGPT is the big one. 53% of those AI using managers said that's their primary tool.
Over half. Makes sense. It's got the brand recognition.
It does. Then you've got Microsoft's Copilot. That's used by about 29%. And Google's Gemini, around 16%.
Okay, so the big tech players.
Pretty much. Only a small fraction said they primarily use something else. So yeah, we're seeing the heavyweights really stake their claim in this area.
Right. Now, you mentioned it's moving beyond admin. Let's map that out a bit. What kind of tasks are we talking about?
Well, the usage is broad. I mean, almost universal for some things among the AI users, like creating training materials. 97% are doing that.
Okay, that seems fairly logical. It would be less controversial.
Right. Building employee development plans, that's 94%. Assessing performance, 91%. Even drafting performance improvement plans, PIPs, that's 88%.
Okay, so those are definitely significant HR functions.
Yeah.
Way beyond just like scheduling meetings, but maybe still seen as supportive roles for the manager.
Perhaps. You could argue that. But here's where the survey data gets really interesting. It may be a bit concerning for some.
Okay.
It's when you look at those truly critical personnel decisions,
Yeah.
a majority of these managers are using AI to help determine raises. That's 78%.
78% for raises.
Wow, emotions, 77%.
Okay.
And then you get into the tougher stuff, layoffs. 66% of managers using AI for input on layoffs.
2/3.
And even terminations. That's
Yeah.
64% using AI in that process.
Over 60% for firing.
Yeah. And it's not just occasional use. For several of these really high-stakes areas, nearly half the managers said they use AI for them all the time or
Well,
often.
all the time or often.
Mm.
For things like promotions and layoffs,
hmm
that paints a very different picture.
It really does. It underscores just how deeply involved AI is getting in these incredibly sensitive parts of managing people. It's moved fast.
Okay, so with AI playing such a big role in these critical decisions, the obvious question is, how much human oversight is actually happening? Are managers just like rubber stamping what the AI suggests,
Yeah.
or are they really in control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the survey findings here are, well, a bit mixed, maybe even contradictory.
How so?
Well, on one hand, you have a majority of managers, 71%, saying they feel confident that AI can make fair and unbiased decisions about employees.
Okay, so there's a level of trust there. High trust, actually.
Yeah, quite high.
Yeah.
But then you look at the autonomy question. How often does the AI just make the call? And this part is really eye-opening.
Uh-huh.
More than 20% so. Over 1 in 5 of the managers using AI admit they let it make decisions without any human input.
Without any human input at all.
At all. That breaks down to 5% saying all the time, and another 16% saying often.
Wow. Okay.
And then another 24% say they sometimes let the AI make decisions autonomously.
So if you add that up,
hmm
nearly half, sometimes, often, or always let the AI decide without stepping in.
That's right. It raises a really important question, doesn't it, about what human oversight actually means in practice. Nearly all managers say they'd step in if they disagreed.
Right, you'd hope so.
But if the AI is making the final call all the time, or often, without that check, well, how much practical oversight is really happening in those moments? It kind of begs the question.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Which leads directly to the next point. Are these managers even equipped for this? I mean, given that level of autonomy, are they prepared? Do they know how to use these tools ethically, especially for such sensitive decisions?
You're hitting on a critical gap the survey uncovered because the answer seems to be largely no.
Really?
Yeah. The stark reality here is that only about 1/3, just 32% of the managers using AI for people management have actually received any formal training on how to use it ethically.
Only a third.
Only a third. Now, another 43% said they got some informal guidance, maybe tips from colleagues or something they read online.
Okay, so some informal chatter.
Right. But that leaves almost 1 in 4, 24% who said they received no training whatsoever.
No training at all on tools they're using for raises, promotions, even firings, sometimes without supervision.
Exactly. That's a pretty significant gap considering the space we've been discussing.
It really is.
And this is exactly where Stacey Haller, who is the chief career advisor at Resume Builder, she provides some really crucial perspective.
Okay, what does she say?
Well, she warns very clearly that it's essential not to lose the people in people management. That's her big concern.
Lose the people in people management.
Yeah. Because, as she points out, AI simply lacks context, empathy, and judgment. The human elements.
Right, the things that are hard to quantify.
Exactly. And she also clarifies that AI outcomes just reflect the data it's given. And that data, it can be flawed, it can be biased, it could even be manipulated.
So garbage in, garbage out, basically. If the data has biases, the AI's decisions will too.
Precisely. Which is why Haller really stresses that organizations have a huge responsibility here. They need to implement AI ethically.
Why? Just to be nice.
Well, partly, maybe, but also to avoid serious legal trouble, protect their company culture, and
Right.
crucially, maintain the trust of their employees. Imagine finding out a tough decision was made by an algorithm with dodgy data.
Yeah, that wouldn't go over well. So why are companies pushing managers to use AI then, if the risks are there?
It comes down to the usual suspects, really. Efficiency, speed, cost reduction. Haller points out companies see AI as a way to make decisions faster, maybe reduce overhead, and get more, quote, data-driven insights.
Okay, the efficiency argument.
Right. But Haller's bottom line, her strong recommendation as a career expert is this. For AI to actually work well in people management, it must be implemented thoughtfully. It has to be used responsibly. And critically, it must always be paired with human oversight.
Always paired with human oversight. That seems key.
Absolutely. And she emphasizes that companies must provide proper training and really clear guidelines about using AI. If they don't, she warns they risk unfair decisions and a serious erosion of employee trust.
Which can destroy a company culture pretty quickly.
No question.
Okay, so we've talked about the scale, the tasks, the autonomy, the lack of training. Now let's get to maybe the most profound consequence, the one that directly impacts you, the listener, and job security in general.
Yeah, this is the finding that really made headlines.
We can't really wrap up this deep dive without tackling the ultimate outcome of all this AI integration and management.
Right, and the headline finding from the source, it puts it bluntly, 1 in 4 managers have replaced their direct reports with AI.
1 in 4. Let that
Right.
sink in. That's a staggering number.
It really is, and the survey actually shows the pathway, how this happened.
Okay, how did it unfold?
So remember earlier, nearly half, 46% of the managers using AI were specifically tasked by their companies to evaluate if AI could do the job of one of their human reports.
Just evaluate. Okay.
Just evaluate. Now, of those managers who did the evaluation, more than half, 57%, actually decided, yes, AI could replace this position.
So they concluded it was feasible.
They concluded it was feasible. And here's the final step. Of that group who decided AI could do the job, nearly half, again, 43% of them actually followed through. They replaced the human position with AI.
Wow. So task assigned, evaluation done, conclusion reached, action taken. That's the chain of events leading to that 1 in 4 stat.
That's the real-world consequence laid out by the data.
You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this trend really signals a massive shift, doesn't it? For
Yeah.
the future of work, the very nature of human roles in companies.
Absolutely. It's not just about making existing jobs more efficient anymore. It's about the fundamental composition of the workforce changing.
Yeah.
It forces us to ask some really tough questions about, reskilling, adapting. What is the unique human value proposition in a world where AI can do more and more?
Critical questions indeed. Okay, so let's just quickly recap what we've uncovered in this deep dive today. AI. It's not some far-off sci-fi concept anymore.
No, it's here now.
It's deeply embedded in how managers are making decisions across the U.S., often with surprisingly little formal training on how to use it right.
And with a level of autonomy that's honestly quite startling.
Yeah, letting the AI make calls on its own.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about small administrative tasks. We're seeing real, tangible impacts on people's careers, their raises, their promotions.
And yes, even leading to actual job displacement, people being replaced.
So for you listening right now, understanding this isn't just like interesting trivia, it's actually crucial because this directly impacts your potential opportunities, your compensation, maybe even your job security in this evolving workplace.
It's not a distant concern anymore. It's a present-day reality,
Definitely.
which kind of leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought to chew on, something to consider as you go about your day.
Okay, let's hear it.
In a world where AI is increasingly making these personnel decisions, decisions that really affect people's lives, their livelihoods, the whole feel of an organization, how do we make sure we safeguard those essential human elements? Empathy, nuance, actual human judgment.
How do we keep the people in people management, as Heller put it?
Exactly. And what are the bigger long-term societal implications if we don't? If the people truly do get lost in people management?
A really important question to think about. Definitely something for all of us to consider as we navigate our own careers in this changing landscape.